In today's video, I'll give an answer to the question if I would purchase a subscription for Nano Banana Pro, Google's latest AI image generation model, and if so, how would I buy access to the model? And I'll later in the video explain what I mean by that. My name is Ruben Stolm and I'm a Dutch designer selling over 200 digital products for over 10 years now. And I recently started my first YouTube channel to show other designers and creatives in an honest way how to use AI in their workflow. Not as a replacement, but as a tool. And if that's something that you're interested in, then I would like to ask you if you want to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It really helps me grow my YouTube channel and allows me to create more content about designing with the help of AI tools. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this video. When I did my research for this video and looked online what the difference was between Nano Banana's previous version and the Pro version, I mostly found examples of people showing how you can adjust the lighting with a new model, how you can implement new color palettes and stay consistent with your images and change the angle of the camera. However, all of those features were already available in Flash 2.5, the previous version of Nano Banana. And I even made a video about how you can stay consistent with your images using certain lighting, specific camera lenses, and how you can create that background and that foreground blur, all with the previous version of Nano Banana. So that was clearly already available to us. Then what makes this model different from other models, and what practical use cases is this new Premium Pro version actually useful for? Besides access to the API, you can access Nano Banana Pro via 3 different pricing tiers. The free tier is fine for testing the model, but the limits are so low that you run into restrictions almost immediately if you're actually creating design work. Then the Google AI Pro plan, which is the only tier that really makes sense for most designers. It costs $20 a month and gives you 1,000 AI credits each month, which don't roll over. And with the Pro plan you also get 2 terabytes of storage and Gemini access inside Google Apps, which makes it a practical all-in-one upgrade if you are already working in the Google ecosystem. Then the Ultra tier is technically more powerful, but the price jump doesn't offer any meaningful advantage for designers who mainly want strong, consistent image generations. So you're paying for features that you likely won't use. So in practice, the $20 Pro plan is the most interesting tier for designers to have enough credits for their projects without paying hundreds of dollars a month. However, there are other ways to access Nano Banana Pro, which I think are even more interesting for designers, and I'll explain this later in the video. Okay, so let's discuss what is actually different with the Pro model compared to the previous version, besides that it's now paid. So you can now add more reference images than before, up to 14. Plus it stays consistent across multiple characters, not just 1 or 2. And these 2 features combined are especially useful if you're creating images with multiple characters and specific scenes and lighting, like a children's book for example, or video ads that uses multiple scenes and characters. So speaking of more characters, it can now generate more details in an image more accurately. So a more crowded image with more than one person and multiple cars and multiple buildings, for example, show a lot more details. Nano Banana Pro is also significantly faster than its predecessor, and you can now set different ratios for your images and also use more extreme ratios like the 1:3 ratio, for example. And this is something that has proven to be more difficult with the previous version of Nano Banana. And Nano Banana is, since its last update, integrated in many other Google applications directly, such as Google Slides, which could be very useful for some users if that's something that you use often. And one of the most important updates, you now have the option to generate 2K and 4K resolution outputs. So now that we know what is new and what sets it apart from its predecessor, I'd like to talk about 3 actual use cases that make Nano Banana Pro so interesting for designers. The first and more obvious one is creating product mockups and product renders in a high 2K and 4K resolution. And this is, in my opinion, one of the main reasons to use Nano Banana Pro over the other AI image generation models out there. So by generating professional mockups, you are able to show your work in a more professional way, and if done right, set you apart from other designers due to your own visual identity. And this is one of the most important skills to have as a graphic designer in general. So your portfolio is like your online business card, right? And with Nano Banana Pro you can now more easily build a unique portfolio in a high resolution and in a ratio that fits your project. But I also wanted to mention that this isn't a full replacement for mockups by any means. So, because for example, if you are a web designer and if you have a screenshot of a full website that you created in, for example, Figma, it doesn't know how to accurately place your web design onto, say, a MacBook Pro screen. And it really struggles with cropping the web design and knowing the right measurements. And besides, inserting a reference image doesn't always end up accurately. And that becomes even more clear when you have many details and text in your designs. I created a more in-depth video on how to stay on brand and create consistent images with Nano Banana. And the main idea of this video was to first create a reference image and then use those reference images for future image generations. Now with Nano Banana Pro you can do so by uploading even more reference images, up to 14, which is one of the most powerful features of the tool in my opinion. And this allows you to create entire on-brand libraries by adding example images of lighting, of characters, products and locations, for example. And you can now accurately generate the image that you need for your project, even in the ratio that you want. So the consistency part of the AI image generation model is especially useful when creating characters, when using products, and when you want to transfer certain lighting or a specific vibe from a reference image into your newly created image. And that is where Nano Banana Pro really shines and outperforms other models such as Midjourney or ChatGPT in my experience. Another use case for Nano Banana Pro that I think is incredibly helpful for designers is in AI video generators. A common workflow for generating videos with AI is to input two images that become the first and the last frame of your video. And now with Nano Banana Pro you can generate the image for the first frame and iterate on that image for the last frame and stay really close to that initial first frame. And with the Pro version you can even more accurately play with the camera and the scene specifics to create a matching second frame. And this will give you a much better result when using reference images for your AI generated videos. Unfortunately, it isn't all good when it comes to Nano Banana Pro. There are three things in particular that I want to share that I personally found worth mentioning. Although the AI model is now more accurate when generating multiple characters and stays consistent with more characters than before, it still has difficulties outputting large groups. So when the details become too small, it will lose accuracy and break that consistency. But still it is far better than the model before. Although they show an example on their website with 14 character references, they advertise on the DeepMind website that you can now stay consistent with 5 characters at once. And they also included in the disclaimer that when you push it too far with too many people and the faces become very small, you'll lose that accuracy. So if that's something that you need, for example, if you need a city map or if you want photos that are in a very busy environment with lots of small details, then you will still see that the model may hallucinate in some cases. I found that Nano Banana Pro often still struggles with having the right measurements in your images. So if you want to create a scene with different furniture, for example, and you want to add reference images of a couch, of a chair and a plant, then it doesn't really know how big the plant should be compared to the chair and the couch. And that may result in strange looking images in some cases. And this is particularly difficult when you want to use Nano Banana for product photography and the product ends up too big or too small. And the same applies for characters that may be taller in one scene than they are in the next. So to overcome this issue, I often use images that have details that show the measurement of the product. For example, a hand that holds a product may already show how large the product should be relatively to the hand. I haven't talked about the text in the practical use case section of this video for a reason. Granted, Nano Banana Pro can include text in the generated images in a more accurate way than its predecessor, which can be unbelievably helpful for a lot of use cases like creating infographics for your blog websites, for example. But from a designer's perspective, I wasn't all that enthusiastic. I, as a designer, would like to have the control to place and format the text myself. And this would really allow me to make sure that everything is consistent and on brand. And that is something that I hope will improve in the next generation of this model. Yes, I do think that Nano Banana is worth the money for a lot of designers. And for me as a designer that creates digital products, I think it is worth it to create consistent images in a higher resolution in a specific ratio that I can then use in my design work. And this way I can really double down on my specific visual style that is so important, especially now in such a crowded online space. It depends, however, on the type of design content that you make. So, for example, I recently saw a comparison of different AI generation models by a fellow designer on Instagram. And he said that he only pays for a Midjourney subscription because he mainly uses it for quote-unquote scroll-stopping content. And that makes a lot of sense because Midjourney is known for generating more artistic content, which gives a more wow effect than most of the outputs generated by Nano Banana, where you, generally speaking, get more realistic results. And that is something that I predict that we will see a lot more in 2026 with AI, that these different models will really niche down on a very specific use case, making them appealing for a very specific user. With Midjourney, for example, you can clearly see that it's still far behind when it comes to lifelike image creation. And realistic hands and patterns and textures are still an issue after being live for a few years now and don't look as realistic as they do in Nano Banana. But their main selling point will probably more and more shift towards being artistic. And therefore it really depends on what you want it to use for. So in short, I would definitely recommend using Nano Banana Pro when you're looking to generate images with visual consistency and realism. I started this video with the question if I would buy a Nano Banana Pro subscription, and if so, how I would buy a Nano Banana Pro subscription. And the reason for the how part is because I think that there are better ways to access the AI model than purchasing a subscription directly from the Google Gemini website. Instead, I recommend using an aggregator website such as Artlist or Higgsfield or FreePic. The reason for using an aggregator website for me is because you get a lot more word for your money. So you get access to all these other tools such as video generators, upscalers, video extension tools, 11 Labs AI voiceovers and icon generators and mockups, and the list goes on. And besides, all AI tools use the latest models, so this allows you to experiment with new models for different use cases. And this has proven to be especially useful with the new AI tools, which seem to constantly outperform each other and come up with new features. I personally really enjoy using the FreePic website due to its sleek interface. And this website starts at $6 a month and even offers a premium plan for $24.50 a month, but this has unlimited image generations. But what exact tool works best for your specific use case may depend on the amount of monthly generations that you need, or if you like to use any of the other specific features that the platforms have to offer. I added links to the websites that I referred to in the video description. And I'm not affiliated with any of these platforms, and I do generally think that this is a better option for designers who want to generate images with AI. A quick note here, I talked about Midjourney in this video, and there's unfortunately no official Midjourney API, meaning that these aggregator platforms don't have the option to include Midjourney on their website. If you really prefer Midjourney, then you would still have to access their model via their own website. I hope that this video helped with giving you more insights on whether the Nano Banana Pro image generator is worth it for your use case. And if you found it useful and want to see more content about design with the help of AI tools, then I would very much appreciate it if you would like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. This means a lot to me personally and allows me to create more content like today's video. If you have any questions or any thoughts, please leave them down below in the comment section and I'll make sure to answer them. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.